like it's supposed to be. Let me close some of these things over here so I don't get froze, I don't freeze. All right. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. I think we live already. I'm never on time, y'all. Wow. Holy moly. Give me a second here. Let's some people get in here. Ain't nobody here yet. I'm good. I'm glad of that. Glad ain't nobody here yet. I ain't got stuff set up. One day y'all, I'm gonna get this together. Let's get this some time for people to get in here, and then we talk about who we are, what we got going on today. This is our Saturday morning conversation. I ain't got nobody in yet, so let me share this live. If you out there someplace, you ain't got nothing to do on a Saturday morning, share this live and join us as we talk with candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Ooh-wee. From SOTUS. That's a big step. That's large. That's large. All righty. Let's see here. We're gonna get started here in a second. I'm trying to figure this thing out. Oh, let me see here. What's going on here? If you're there, share the live. Share the live. All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna get started. We ain't gonna wait longer here. I've been messing around long enough to get my shirt together here. I'll be sitting here sometime looking at myself afterwards. I'm like, wow, my shirt was all crazy looking. Oh, okay, all right. Great morning. How's everybody doing? It is a chilly Saturday morning. I'm looking out my window. I got, just so y'all don't, for those who didn't know, first off, James Schuler, and I have with me I'm gonna say right now, I'm not gonna say Mayor of SOTUS. Okay, I'm not gonna say he's Mayor of SOTUS. I'm gonna say we got David Englert. He's got something he want to talk about. But first, I'm gonna remind everybody. Remember, I was telling you about these bikes. I'm looking out my window here, and I got, man, at my house I got over 110 bikes right now that I'm going to be giving out to the kids in the community, putting back out things that were taken from the community. We're going to restore them and put them right back out in the community rather than just destroy them and have somebody turn them into scrap metal or put into some bomb or some old craziness. We're going to put them back in the community's hands where the kids can use them. So pretty soon coming up, I'm going to have this bike share program going on. Great morning. So let's get started. We got a few people up here. Who we got here? Great morning, Casey. Casey said, great morning, Mr. David. Great morning,
Casey.
All right, we got a few people here. All right, let's get going here. Wow, this is a big deal here. This meeting right here, this conversation right here, y'all. Share this live. If you watch it, share this, because this conversation right here is a big deal for Wayne County. I mean, it's a huge deal for Wayne County. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. For Wayne County, this is a big deal. Period. Because this is the type of thing that we just don't normally see going on here in Wayne County. We hear about all types of political battles over assemblyman's seat or senator's seat or even Congress and all that kind of stuff. But we don't really hear about people in Wayne County looking to go to this level. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give my guests here a few minutes to talk about what is this I'm talking about that's so important to Wayne County. I'm not going to make it now. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let him say it because he can say it better than I can say it. So what am I talking about here, David? What am I talking about that's a big deal for us here in Wayne County?
Well, I think, Mr. Schuler, thank you for having me on, first of all. I think why it is a big deal is because if you look back historically, I think you're going to find that most of our New York State politicians are from downstate. And they do this thing all the time. Our current governor happens to be from the Buffalo region, and that's really rare. So our last two lieutenant governors have been from upstate. That was Bob Duffy and Kathy Hochul. But if you dig deeper than that and go farther back, I don't think you're going to find very many upstate politicians. And one of the reasons for that is that the barrier for entry in a race like this is so very, very high. You either have to score well at the party conventions to get on the ballot, or you need to petition. And that's the stage we're in right now, because my decision to enter this race came the day that the Democratic convention ended down in Manhattan. So right now I am partnering with a gubernatorial candidate from Queens young man named Paul Nichols, who I found to be very impressive. And he seems to me likely, he's got the right temperament, the right intelligence, and the right personality, I think, to fix a lot of the ills that we have here in New York State. And since he already has an operation running down in New York City, with the ability to get enough petitions signed by registered Democrats to get on the primary ballot in June, when he asked me to join the team, I said yes, but I don't have the resources to mount a campaign like this. And he said, "Don't worry, we got you." So, so that's how I'm doing this. If otherwise, there's no way. There would be no way that a local, normal, ordinary guy like me could actually have these take this action.
And this action is, well, just in case you didn't figure this out, y'all, in case y'all ain't figured this out yet, this action is Mr. David Englert, the now SOTUS mayor, is running for lieutenant governor of the great state of New York, alongside Paul Nichols from Queens, who's running for the governor of the great state of New York. That's a big deal for us. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. Win, lose, or draw, that is a big deal for us.
Yep. My goal is to highlight the difficulties that we in upstate rural New York have, and just, you know, show that we're not New York City, and what works in New York City doesn't work in Wayne County, won't work in Cattaraugus County, won't work in Steuben County, Allegheny County. We are different than the city. We are all one New York State, but we're tired of being treated like we were another borough, because the rules and regulations in the city don't work for us.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean that we're talking a divided New York State. We're just talking.
No, not at all.
I think the mayor is saying here, we're talking, he wants his ticket that he's going to be part of is actually talking about a more unified New York State.
Absolutely.
I mean,
we have a divide between upstate and downstate. We need to recognize it, we need to acknowledge it, and we need to work around it. But upstate is half the population, downstate's the other half. You know, we are all the great state of New York, and
right.
we are fortunate to have New York City in our borders. And I love New York City, but not enough to live there.
Right. So and exactly, and a lot of people share that. I believe a lot of people share that same sentiment that, yeah, you know what, New York City is a great place. Any city is a great place to go visit. But people from the areas like where we live at in Wayne County, I think sometimes it gets lost. We lose in the message. We lose the ideal or the expression that, yes, we do appreciate the big cities, but it's just too much going on there for us to live. I don't mind going to visit. I don't mind going to shop. I don't mind going to hang out and do some fun stuff, but I can't every day, all day. It's a little bit too much. And when we got that many people in our great state that feel that way, I think it's important that people like yourself get out and say, you know what, we're going to make sure our voice is heard. That's what I try to do. I mean, some people will say to me that, James, you're crazy. What are you doing out here? I mean, these people ain't for these people. I hate that word. These people ain't finna do nothing. I said, well, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna be out here, and at least I'm gonna know what these people are doing. So it's important for us to get in these little towns to get out there. So, David, if I may call you David.
Absolutely.
We always had that. Listen, we always had that problem. I'm not Mr. Schuler. That's just I'm James. I'm James. Kids in school get it. I said, don't call me Mr. Schuler. Call me James. Teachers, they call me Mr. Schuler. I said, no, don't. I want to be James. I want to be on that level. So, with the divide, the great divide that we have in our state, that's an issue. That's a motivator. Healing that divide is a thing that you've expressed. And I met Mr. Nichols, Paul Nichols. I've sat with him several different times. I talked to him. We text back and forth quite a few times. A great guy. He's got some great ideas. He's got a great way of getting information from the people who normally don't get the message. They don't get the message from. He's got a great way of doing it. I like it. One day I'm going to have him on the show very soon, Paul. You're going to come on soon, Paul. We've already talked about it, and I know he wants to, so we're going to do it. We're going to bring him on and introduce him to everybody. But other than that great divide, Mr. David, what are some of the concerns that you see that you need to help bring to the forefront?
Well, I've narrowed my campaign message down to 7 so far, which is still too many, but so I've got 7 points that I want to address, and the divide is one of them. That we need to partner. The state needs to partner with the local municipalities, the county, the towns, the villages, the cities, and instead of being an authority that dictates how and why and when we get to do things, has to understand what we need and help us, and we need to partner with rather than serve the state. So that's one. Another fun one that I want to talk about is we need to take politics out of government. That's an interesting concept. But right now, the political parties, the mainstream political parties, are more concerned with winning elections and winning arguments and getting happy memes on social media than they are with actually fixing the problems. So when one party is in power and tries to do something and the opposition party says, you can't do that, it's wrong, and then when they become the party in power and they do the exact same thing, to me, that's not politics, that's not governing, that's just hypocrisy. So we need to stop being partisans and fighting with each other, and we need to start talking to each other. So that's one of my points, and that's a fun one that should get some reaction on both sides of that issue.
I think that one throughout this whole campaign season now, I've seen a few different political statements out there that have got my attention. One of them, I got some guy said that he's going to try to hold people's paychecks if they don't perform like they're supposed to, and he's on the other side of the aisle. I'm going to hold the paychecks if they don't. I'm like, wow, okay. I've heard that before, but I've never actually seen anyone actually be able to tell those people they're not going to get paid. That's a weird one. And now you're saying you're going to help take politics out of the game and put humans back in the game. That's huge. That's huge.
Mr. Nichols and I both believe that government should be for the ordinary people, and the people in the state are hurting. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look out your window. There's people hurting everywhere. Economically, mentally, emotionally, people are suffering, and we need to stop that. We need to stop serving our political belief systems and start serving the people that are hurting.
That's so true. That's why I look at our political makeup, Mr. Mayor David. I look at our political makeup here in Wayne County, and a lot of people would say that politically Wayne County is a Republican community. But really, Wayne County, if you really look at the numbers, I look at the actual voter rolls. I go down to the department to the Board of Elections, and I get a copy of the voter roll myself. That's public information. And if you didn't know that, you can do that. You can go right to the Board of Elections, and you can get a list of who's in what party. I am in a party. I am in a party which is not really a party, and this party which I'm part of is really the majority in Wayne County. And that's the no party affiliate, neither Republican nor Democrat. There are more people in Wayne County who fall in that line because of the divisions, the separate. So to get the politics out, Mr. Mayor, that's huge. I commend you guys for that. Even saying you do that.
In the two major parties, we used to have 5, 6, 7 third parties in the state. Recently, the rules were changed and it was made more difficult for a third party to operate in this state. So in 2020, through executive order, the governor effectively killed the SAM party that I was a part of, the Serve America movement, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the Independence Party, and I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2 there. But right now in New York State, there are only 4 recognized political parties, and that's the Democrats, the Republicans, the Conservatives, and the Working Families Party. And as far as I'm concerned, reducing the number of parties is bad for democracy, and setting the bar for entry into seeking political office so high is also is not very democratic. So yeah, we need to look seriously at how we do things and why we do things, and go back to serving the people's interests, which is why government exists.
Exactly. I agree. So I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. I want to get into a little bit. I don't want to put you in a committal position. I'm not going to get too deep into things here, but I think it's very important because one of the problems that keep me my questions are coming from how I feel. Now, a lot of people, I got to give this little quick disclaimer here, because a lot of people see me in a lot of different roles, but this is James Schuler talking. It's not, this conversation and these views and opinions are directly those of the people speaking, not anybody that they're connected to. So I got to say that, let you know. All right. So having said that, all right. In our community, a lot of people, and it's all across the state, a lot of people take positions there that says either hard on crime, hammer. We're gonna lock them up and throw away the key if they don't want to listen. And then they say, on the other hand, we're gonna respect the Constitution and the structure and so forth. And then they're gonna put policies in place that violate those very same principles because there's a problem in the community right now. And we'll exclude all those things. So we forget about those types of things. Now, and then on the other side, there's a group of people who says we're going to focus so much on those constitutional things to where we ignore the conditions of what's actually happening. And we're going to say we can't do anything about it because we don't want to change this. And then the people in the middle are sitting there like, I get both arguments, but dang, man, crime is out of control right now. And we got to do something. So then they start blaming it. So what do you think? What do you think on that level there?
First of all, let me say that I fully support the police. They have a job to do, and that job is to keep us safe. But on the other hand, we cannot police ourselves into safety, right? It's too expensive, and so the criminal justice system is unbalanced at the moment, I think. And one of the reasons for that is that we like you said, we like to lock people up because it solves the problem, right?
Right.
There's a perceived problem. This person is antisocial. This person is a criminal element. This person has done X, Y, and Z. Let's get rid of this person. So we send them away to jail. Not only is that expensive, but it's not very, in the long run, it doesn't benefit society. Because what you do by sending someone to jail is you harden them, and you make them you give them an opportunity to learn how to become a better criminal. If you treat prisons as punishment for wrongdoing, that's fine. Admit that that's what you're doing, and plan on building prisons all day, every day for the next 100 years, and keep half of our population behind bars. But if you treat prison like you should view prison as an opportunity for most inmates to become reformed, if you work with them and help them reacclimate to society, and there's this thing called restorative justice that I'm sure that your audience has heard a lot about, where you don't alienate the inmate from society and make them feel apart from society, but you make them feel a part of society. Explain to them what their wrongdoing did, who it harmed, and introduce them to the people that they harmed or people like them that they harmed, and make them pay that back. Not so much with time out of their lives, but with, open their heart and make them see that they are a valued member of the society and would be welcomed back once they make restitution.
Right now, now, some people will hear that, right? I'm putting devil's advocate for a second. Some people will hear that and say, they violated our ways of life,
Yes.
our sanctity, our safety, our everything, and now we need to be understanding.
Yes.
You know,
The short answer is yes.
right, but to a person who is, and this is where I commend you for saying you want to get politics out of governing, because this is where people say, so you would say to a murderer, to a family who's lost somebody, and I think that is freaking, that's where we got to get the politics out, because that's not the case that we're talking about.
Right.
Those type
Right.
of
There are
cases,
cases where people should be locked up and the keys should be thrown away and they should never set foot in society again. But that should not be the go-to response. Right.
Exactly.
And I am not saying that I am soft on crime. I believe that crime should be recognized and should be paid, but crime isn't a primary problem. Crime is a symptom for the most part. It's a symptom of addiction, of hopelessness, of bad education, of alienation. A lot of times people don't wake up or when they're 7 years old say, I want to grow up and be a criminal. A lack of opportunity, a lack of compassion, a lack of belonging as they grow is what turns them to a life of crime.
Yes, I agree.
Or a single act of criminality.
Yeah, that is a great quality, in my opinion. And if my opinion matters, all right, that's a great quality to have in a person who's talking about leading the state, is understanding of why things happen, while at the same time understanding that we got to do something about it. We just can't understand why it happened and then don't have a plan for how we're going to address it when it does happen.
Right. If somebody says that crime is an issue in New York State and we need to fight crime, and that is their platform, they don't have an answer. And they're going to try to police us into safety and security, and you can't do that. I said I had 7 points in my campaign, and actually fighting crime is not one of those 7. And again, it's not because I'm soft on crime, it's because crime is a symptom of some of the other points. Education. We need to reform our education system and the outcomes that we have for our students. We need to address the mental health problems. We need to destigmatize mental illness and help people get the mental health services they need, whether that is, whether they have a mental illness or they have an addiction. They need that. We need to build community and make people feel like they belong. And that will reduce crime. It's not going to be easy. I mean, we can't build prisons our way out of this. We can't keep arresting people out of this.
Right.
So crime is rising, but it's rising nationally. And I have theories on why it's rising nationally, but I don't think we need to go into all of that right now. But
right. On that topic right there, I think it's very important. Not only that do we talk about what your what your platform is or what you're planning to do for the great state of New York, but we also remind everybody that a lot of times people take a serious situation and then they'll localize it so much to where it feels like you're the only one going through it. But yes, crime is a national problem. But I watch world news, and I don't just watch world news on the tube where you turn the dial. I go on YouTube and I watch world news on those, because I pay for YouTube. So when you pay for the YouTube, you get a whole lot more stuff than you would get if you didn't pay for it. I've learned that a long time ago. You get more that you pay for if you than you would for free. So if you want to get more, invest in it. So I invest in my YouTube, and there I watch world news, real world news, and I found that, guess what, y'all? Crime is a worldwide problem right now. It is not a local problem. It's not a national problem. It is a worldwide problem. They're having crime problems all over the place. Look at a whole country just decided to do a home invasion on this neighboring country. And everybody's sitting back saying, why? Why? Well, guess what? Some bad things just happened in Williamson, some bad things just happened in Rochester, some bad things just happened in Houston, and everybody's saying the same thing about why that guy decided to do that home invasion on that country. Why? So I'm glad that you understand, Mr. Mayor, that this crime thing is a bigger issue, and saying our goal is to eradicate crime is like saying we're going to figure out a way to make oxygen in the air clean all the way by next week. There's no big filter you can put on crime to make it go away, just like there's no big filter you can put on the oxygen and make the air clean. And there's no big filter you can put on the air and make the air clean. There's work that's going to have to be done. If you do that work, you're saying, right, you'll get cleaner air. If you do that work, you'll get less crime. And you decide, you're saying you're going to do what for that work, for the crime? You're going to do the work. I like that. So what are some more points that you're thinking about working on here that you can share with us? I don't want you to share your whole thing because there might be some people who sit back with notes and they may be trying to take your strategy.
Well, you know what? I would consider that a win.
Okay,
if somebody were to listen to my points and then get elected instead of me and actually follow through on some of these things, we would see some success. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be immediate. It's going to take time. But I am willing to put in the time that it takes, and I'm willing to sit down and have the difficult conversations with everybody, because I'm a smart guy and I understand a lot of the issues, but I am humble enough to know that I am not the smartest guy, and I do not know all of the issues and all of the various ramifications of policy. But I'm happy to talk to people and learn and craft policy that will help people and not harm them, even unintentionally, because that's a thing that you have to worry about too. You oversimplify a problem and you go for a solution, and the next thing you know, you've got unintended consequences. The eviction moratorium sounded like a great idea, but there's a lot of unintended consequences there, especially for small-time landlords in upstate New York. I would hate to go into that in more detail, but that's just an example. So I talked about, education. That's a deep topic. That's probably another hour conversation. The cost of living in New York State is too high. People can't survive. If you have a full-time job and with full benefits, you're lucky. If you have a part-time job with full-time hours, you don't have benefits, you're not making it. If you get sick and have to go to a hospital, say your appendix bursts, you're done. What are you going to do? You go into bankruptcy and you can't live here. Taxes, people complain about taxes. I think that's all part and parcel. Taxes are, yes, taxes are too high, but the cost of living is too high. Maybe we're taking in too much money from for the state, or maybe we're just spending it. We're spending it in the wrong way. Not get the results that we need. Taxation. We do. I mean, we tax your income. We tax your purchases. We tax your utilities. We tax your fuel purchase. We tax your property that you own. We tax a lot. And those are all, those are all 18th century, 19th century forms of taxation. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a better way to raise income for the government. And we certainly need to spend wisely.
Right. I agree. Now, some people will say, I'm pretty sure as you've heard over and over and over again, some people will say, well, that's a Democrat problem. If we get rid of dang on Democrats, those taxes will go down.
That's not true. That's what you hear, but that's not the case. If you look historically, Republicans spend money like drunken sailors when they're in power, and Democrats spend money like drunken sailors when they're in power. No offense to drunken sailors, of course. My son is a sailor.
Let's respect those drunken sailors.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. It's okay. Now, I'm listening to you. And before we went live, I'm with full disclosure, as we discussed If you don't want to say it, you want to discuss, you don't know. If you don't know enough, you don't want to get in it. You're going to say that. But basically, I'm listening, and all holes are off, and I have plenty of room here for this questioning. So I want to talk about taxes a little bit here. All right, if I may, I want to ask you a little bit about taxes, because taxes to me, all right, because before, and I'm in full disclosure, before I didn't really care too much about taxes. I was like, okay, whatever. Only tax I had to worry about was sales tax. Okay, and that's if sales tax, it was only on certain things, and it was just a part of buying stuff. How everybody accepts sales tax, but now that I'm a property owner, I see taxes as a whole nother thing. Especially when in my community, my village, my town that I live in, I just got a new tax assessment where my property just went up crazy. The value of my property just went through the roof.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, oh my goodness! I'm like, what the heck happened here? And I'm like, that's great to get your property. Somebody tell you the thing you own is worth more money. I'm like, wow, that's great. If I'm going to sell it,
right, or die.
Yeah, right. But if I'm planning to live here for any length of time, I don't think this. I'm looking out my back window again, y'all, and I got a raggedy shed up on the back of my back of my property here. That I got some old tires and some old bicycle frames and some lawnmower engines and bull job like that. And the thing is about to fall over. The paint is peeling off of it. The windows are busted out of it. It ain't. If the wind blow too hard, I think it's gonna fall over any day. And I don't think my assessor is properly correct when they try to say that building is worth almost $7 grand, so my property value can go way up. I mean, how do you say you're going to help taxes if you don't look at tax problem like you looked at, Mr. Mayor, like you looked at crime?
It's the same thing. It's a very complex issue that doesn't have an easy fix. Like I said, we have so many different tax streams, and it seems like every time we turn around, we're paying something else. I just refinanced my mortgage, and there's a tax on that too. So, I don't know the answer.
Okay.
But I know enough to know that there must be a better way. The way that we tax now, like I said, is an 18th century system. And then we just add more on it. And I think it's time to stop adding more taxes and maybe revamp the style, how the state raises revenue. Mr. Nichols talks about a 21st century taxation system, and I agree. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do know that in New York State, we have a lot of smart people. We have a lot of first-rate universities. I'm sure they have economics departments, and that people can come together and discuss the problem. Because property tax makes sense at a certain level. Because if you own property and you want services around your property, you pay taxes on that property. But it's fundamentally unfair, because in a well-to-do community, if you're paying for your school off of property taxes, now your well-to-do community has a well-to-do school district. But if you come to a poorer community where property values are low, people are scraping by, and we get our schools that have to scrape by on their funding, and the community has to scrape by on the funding, and it just makes it worse. So there's got to be a better way. I mean, we all know deep in our heart. I mean, search your heart. You know that there's a better way to do it. And those conversations need to be had, and we need to figure out what is the best way to do it.
I agree. Myself, I applaud you for being willing to say, hey, just for those who just joined us here on this, if you didn't know, I'm talking to David Englert, who is running for Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York. Okay, now, I applaud you as being someone who's going to do that, David, and then at the same time say, you know what, I don't have the answer, but I'm here to work to figure out what the problem is and how do we solve the problem. Most people go in and say, I know the problem is I'm going to lower your taxes, and they don't even really have a clear understanding of how do you lower taxes. How do you do this? How do you lower taxes on this hand, and then on this hand say we're going to lock everybody up?
Right. You can't do that.
I think one costs a lot more money than you're going to be able to lower the taxes on. I think keeping people in prison for long lengths of time and having more people work and manage them and supervise and do the work and building more of those prisons to take this influx of criminal that you want to put in there is not going to make it so you can lower taxes at all, unless you have inhumane prisons.
Right. Do you know offhand how much it costs to incarcerate an individual for a year?
Recently, I don't know because I haven't looked into it in a while, but it was quite expensive. If I know it's like $100 and some thousand for a juvenile.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And is that getting that child off the street and out of public view? Is that worth it when you think about it? How much it costs?
Right. Let's see. I got a comment in the chat. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think spending that much money is worth it because I don't think we're getting the results.
It's a lot cheaper to have a counselor and some proper schooling.
As long as we don't put too many in.
Right.
As long as we don't put too many of them in there. One of the problems I see with that we oversaturate the things. I don't think it's a good idea to have too many counselors in. I don't think it's a good idea to have too many prisons. I think it's a good idea to have some counselors, and I think it's a good idea to have some prisons.
Agreed.
All right. So let me see. We got Jennifer in the chat. So Jennifer says, "Stop spending. There is so much fat in these budgets at every level. I work for 3 different government agencies. The term use of loose is the motto for all government entities. It should
use
be
or lose. Yep, that's correct.
It says it should be physical responsibility while maintaining the purpose of the agency. And that, listen, Jennifer and everybody else that's listening, I think we all should understand something about that. And I'm hoping that the mayor, who's going to be hoping to be our lieutenant governor, is going to be able to speak to that a little bit better than I'm going to be able to. But if I'm going to give him that opportunity, did you understand what she said?
Absolutely. There is a use it or lose it mentality in agencies and governmental departments. And I mean, I see it at the village level. You budget something. Now, a budget is just a wish list. You put together a budget before you know how much you're going to be spending. So you put together a budget that that lays out your priorities. We need to work on X, Y, and Z, and this is the money we think it's going to take us. Now, just because you budget something doesn't mean you're committed to spending it. And that's where a lot of people don't understand. And they are willing to, hey, we've got this money in our budget. The budget year is coming to a close. We need to spend it all, or they're going to reduce our budget next year. That happens in nonprofits. It happens in charities. It happens in government agencies. We've done away with that in the village. Probably not. Everybody likes to complain about how high their property taxes are and that the village is an extra level of property tax, but we have not raised taxes in the village of Sodus since 8 years before I took office. So my predecessor for 8 years did not raise taxes, and in 5 years that I've been mayor, we have not raised taxes, but we have cut the fat. We have spent money, and we spend it wisely to get a long-term benefit. We don't go for the short-term benefits. We're going for the long. We're playing a long game here. We're getting our community back in shape. It's not easy, and it takes time, but I think we're starting to see results. And that's the thing. People think I'm crazy, but I don't mind paying taxes as long as I'm getting something for it. And that's my philosophy as mayor, and that would be my philosophy at the state level, is that we are taking your money. It is not our responsibility to reduce the amount that we are taking, but it is surely our responsibility to spend what we do take wisely.
Okay.
So, and when I say that, I mean, your taxes are too high. Your taxes should be lowered. They should be smartened. We should be raising money for the state intelligently and then spending it wisely.
You know, if there's if in your campaign and whoever else may be running out there in the world that may be watching this thing, I'm gonna throw. I just thought of a great term. I want you to grab and use it first, Mr. Mayor, when in your campaign. Tell Paul also. Paul, if you're watching, use this. Smart taxes. Smart tax. We're going to tax, but we're going to use them smartly. We're not going to tax just because we got the right to tax. We're not going to act like we're the king of England. And we've been invaded by some plague that done killed off all the corn. So now I got to come take yours. We're not going to do that. We're going to be smart with it. And also Jennifer just said, David, you are exactly right in what you just said.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Exactly right. So now, I want to back up a little bit again, if I may, Mr. Mayor, because I think there's another thing that's very, very important to a lot of people in our communities, in communities just like us. And we got to remember, in New York State, and I hope if you get there, I hope that you remember this, okay? And I want to say this, then I'm going to ask my question. Please do not forget this. There are more counties in New York State that look like Wayne County than there are that look like Queens, Manhattan, Monroe, Erie, or any of that kind of stuff. We way out of the 62 counties, we are way more outnumbered. So there's a consideration that must be made in what we feel. All right. And I say that to say, in your one of your points, you talk about local and state partnership. In our community, there's a big question. And a lot of people will say, you know what we want? We want more local control. How does local control and if you don't have an answer for it, I respect that. Because I respect the person who said I don't know. But how does that look? How does local control and local partnership with New York State, how does that look in your eyes, if there's such a thing?
Well, right now, the state sits back and lets local governments do their thing. There are very restrictive guidelines as to what we can and cannot do. Villages have their code and what they can do. Towns have what they can do. Counties have what they can do, and you can't stray outside of those boundaries, and that's fine. But Albany leaves its hands off. You know, unless you know what questions to ask of your state representative or of the state agencies that you're dealing with, they're not going to tell you what you can and can't do. Grant funding is a great example. The state will put out a grant to do some project, and if you don't know as a local government to be watching a certain website daily, you're not going to know that it's there. Now you've got to spend money. You've got to hire somebody to make it their job to watch out for that. And then when the grants come out, where do you think they go? They go to the bigger municipalities, because the bigger organizations have the employees that can sit down and research and write the grants and turn everything in. It's a lot of work to get a grant. In a lot of our communities, we just don't have the resources because the villages and the towns are running so lean, and the counties have their hands tied by, what is it, 75, 80% of the county budget is what the state has mandated that they do. So what we need, I think that the state needs to be like a benevolent parent to all of our other municipalities, and instead sometimes they're kind of like the nasty, evil stepmother from stories. So all it would take would be for the state to develop a few resources to say, hey, villages out in Allegheny County, we want to do this for you. How can we help you? Rather than just saying, no, I'm sorry, you're not getting any money because you didn't turn in your application on time, or you didn't answer this question. Help them.
Okay.
So local control is great. We have it, but we're all floundering out here.
So we're just not using what we have correctly. We just got to do better using what we have.
Right. So a few years ago, the governor said that New York's problems are due to villages. We've got too many layers of government. Eliminate your village and we'll give you money. That's not a partnership. The villages are our most local form of government. They are small, they are responsive to residents' needs. They are efficient. We are so efficient. We are doing so much with so little and without raising taxes. So for the state to say that we are the problem is a problem. Let us do our thing, because we know what we need. Right. Help us do our thing.
Right. That is an interesting perspective right there. That is a different perspective. And yeah, wow. Listen, that is a heck of a perspective. I appreciate that. I want to. We're running low on time because we almost it's 11:18. Well, I want to ask a out of the left field type question here.
Okay.
We talk about the small towns, the village, local, the Wayne County type places, but I have a large following, a lot of people who watch this show and other shows that are not actually in Wayne County. So and because you're running for the governor of New York State, not the governor of Wayne County, what do you say to Rochester? What do you say to Monroe County? What do you say to Erie County? What do you say to Queens and Broome and all those other counties who do have those concerns that we don't have here in Wayne County, that they need those things to exist, which you're talking about, that don't need to exist here? Because a lot of times in those bigger cities, if you take away some of those controls, some of the poverty pimps over there will take off and they go crazy and they just take advantage of things. So what do you say to that mixture? Is there such a thing, or even if it's been considered? Your turn.
That's an interesting question. What I say to those people is, I love you. You're part of New York too. Like I said, with the upstate downstate divide is also a city rural divide. What works for us here isn't necessarily going to work for downtown Rochester or for Pittsford or Henrietta. So there's not a template that we can apply to the entire state. There are templates that we can create for various regions and various municipalities, and I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah, there is. And I think it points us in the right direction of an answer to the question, because people in the big city will say, man, shoot, we've been suffering for all these years, because they'll say things like systematic racism. They'll say about some cities will say too much opportunity being placed on one group of people over another, and they'll say things like equal opportunity laws, making it harder for businesses to be successful, and so forth and so on. There's a whole bunch of different things. And like Charlie just said in the comment here, Charlie says he thinks that big cities are more of a problem than the villages. And then that alludes to a whole nother problem, where you have a whole bunch of people who still believe, that a bunch of voters who believe that, honestly, we got to get rid of cities. We got to divorce ourselves from New York City. We got to admit that their politics, their ways of life is destroying and making it harder for us. And then there's a bunch of people in the cities who believe that, man, there's some hick towns that don't want to get on board with what's going on. So that's that divide what we're talking about. Is it?
Again, we have to acknowledge it and embrace it and understand that it exists and work with it. If we cut New York City or downstate off, it would be a disaster. Because look at the economy in upstate New York. We are struggling. New York City has an economy that's chugging along.
Right.
And yeah, they make the rules basically because they have the money.
And honestly, for those who don't understand this, all right, this is something that I just learned. Honestly, we could never afford to cut New York City off. They support us economically. He's absolutely right, Joanne. In case you thought about open communication with the public, encouraging participation in government. All of that makes sense. Well, listen, wow, we got to. I think we need to really understand that everybody likes to go places to do things. And what I've learned about economies is the way you make money, the way a locality gets better is they create things that makes people from, let's say, Elmira want to come to a place, let's say like Sodus or Lions, and they'll come in, and when they come, they've been taking it kind of like Carnival Cruise. People have been saving up their money to go there. And we want people to save up money to come to our community. And then when they come here, we want them to spend that money in our communities and then go back home without it. That's how an economy grows. It doesn't grow by this mystical thinking of we blame this person or that person for having to spend on social projects that help improve everybody's cost, everybody's way of living.
I would like to take your point and go one step further. It's the 21st century. There's no reason why those people need to come here to visit or for vacation. They can come here and live. You know, we have the internet. We have good power. You don't have to go to the cities to work anymore. There are jobs that you can have that the pandemic showed us. You can work from home. Why not pick a charming little community where you can buy an affordable house? You don't have to, mortgage your life for a tiny apartment. You can buy a big old house and fix it up over time and live in upstate.
See, that's how we improve. That we have to have a leadership. We have to have leadership, y'all. We have to have leaders who are thinking on that level.
I mean, what happened to the I Love New York campaign? We in the 70s, we were big on how New York is a great place to come vacation. Why don't we spend some money wisely with an advertising campaign to say, move to New York? We need to, well, right now it's because we're not very friendly to business. It's the cost of living is too high and blah, blah, blah. Let's work on that. Let's make it easier for people to open a business and operate a business. Let's make it easier for people to live.
David, I am with you. I support your idea. I believe this is a great idea. I think you're headed in the right direction. Myself, I would say let's go for it. Let's try it. It makes perfectly good sense. Why wouldn't we want to be more open to improving our opportunities for our families, our children, instead of sit back saying, hey, let's take it from them down the road and give it to us up here, and then we can say we're doing better, and not even consider the fact that because we took it from them down there and put it up here, maybe there's a possibility that now they may start doing bad down there, and then we may have to start paying for them.
Right.
So it's like taking from Peter to pay Paul. That never worked. I mean, I've never been able to take my laundry money and go buy some groceries and then still be able to do laundry.
So in addition to taking the politics out of government, my other favorite of my 7 points is that we need a 21st century infrastructure project. In the 19th century, we built the Erie Canal and became the greatest state in the Union. In the early 20th century, New York City's subways were built, and that made New York the greatest city in the world. What are we doing in the 21st century? Well, I'll tell you what, we just squandered, or we are in the process of squandering in this year's state budget, our best chance for jumpstarting some 21st century project. All that federal money is just being thrown into our budget and spent willy-nilly. And we have in upstate New York some of the finest fresh water in the world. And other places in the country are starting to run short on water, and eventually they're going to run out. You can't, Las Vegas and Phoenix, great cities, but they're not sustainable in the long run with the growth that they've had. People are going to have to start moving back to where the water is. Let's be ready for that. They're coming. I mean, let's be ready. Let's improve our state.
Never thought about that. That's something I never thought about. Never thought about that. Never thought about this. Kind of like Florida never thought about what they're gonna do with the alligators when they start expanding Disney World. Never thought about that.
No,
Right.
water is the one thing that we need and that upstate New York has in plenty.
That's great, David. I want to thank you for coming on. Before wait a minute. Before I go say all that, Charlie said, I did not mean that in a negative sense. That's regarding the New York City being the bigger problem in villages. He says, I did not mean that in a negative sense, but many things are different in cities. A lot more people there. People, we can't cut them off. But the problems in the cities need to be addressed that have been going on for years. Exactly. So the cities need to address the issues that they have going on, that has been going on for a long time, and we need to address the issues that we have in our local, these small towns and small counties that's been going on for a long time. And I think, Mr. Mayor, would you agree that they're both the same problems, just different localities
and different scales? Yes.
In
New York City, the city government should deal with their problems in their way with the state's help, just like the village of Newark should deal with the village of Newark's problems with the state's help.
Okay. Now, thank you. And the last thing I want to give you the opportunity to do here, Mr. Mayor, is are there any times, any places, or a way that people, they want to talk to you, they want to know more about what you think? How can people get hold of you, get contact with you? What are you open to that type of thing? Are you open to dialogue, talking to more people? What's your take on
it? Yes, I'm always eager to talk to people. Right now, I've got an email address of Englert for New York Lieutenant Governor at Gmail. So that's Englert, FOR.
If you spell it out for me right now, I'll type it in the chat. And remember, I have big fat fingers, so I'll type slow.
ENGLERT.
See, you go. You like, listen, you said that like that was the alphabet song. I don't type that fast.
Oh, sorry. You want me to type it? I can type it in chat.
Okay, then I'm gonna put it on the Facebook chat too.
All right. So I have an email. I will have a Facebook page probably later today up and running, and a website hopefully by tomorrow. Let me see, where am I here?
Shoot, I thought I had some big fingers, y'all. Look at those big fingers.
G-O-V. Yeah. Happy. Now, right now, I don't know what just happened. This is a three-phase process. First of all, we have to get onto the ballot, and that we do that through petitioning. So if you are a registered Democrat and want to sign our petition, excuse me, let me just see what my eyes are failing here. Yeah, that's right. Reach out to me and we'll get a petition in front of you that you can sign. So we get to that point, we will get on the ballot, and the Democratic primary is at the end of June. Then we need to turn out and vote. And if we cross that hurdle, then it'll be the general election in November. So this is a three-tier process. Step 1 and step 2 requires registered Democrats.
Okay. So I'm copying this out of the chat here, and I'm going to put it in the Facebook here. So if you want to get hold to the mayor, the candidate for lieutenant governor of the great state of New York, you can reach out to him at this email right here. I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to pin it to the top. So it's always going to be at the top of the chat. Check that email. Email Mr. Mayor with some questions. Don't blow him up with spam, please. Let's hit him with, if you got questions, hit him up. David, do you have a job out here in Wayne County right now? This gonna be the last question I ask you. Then I'm gonna say
I do, James. I am the communication specialist for the Wayne County Partnership. The Wayne County Partnership is a consortium of now 50. We've reached 50 school districts, government agencies, nonprofits, and organizations with the goal of improving the lives of individuals and strengthening families in Wayne County. We're trying to improve educational outcomes, build connections between people in their neighborhoods, people in their communities. And I also coordinate the 3 monthly food distributions that FoodLink runs out here in Wayne County.
Okay.
I've seen a lot.
Did you say 50 school districts or 50?
50 agencies.
Okay, 50 agencies. 50
There's
agencies.
11 school districts, 2 BOCES districts, county agencies. There are healthcare providers and, like I said, nonprofit agencies that we're all working toward a common goal.
That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. Again, y'all, if you're watching this and you haven't did it yet, share this live. Let's put it out there. This is get out. Let's get out to sign these petitions. Is there any petition signings coming up that you know? I know Scott Comedies is having a petition signing sometime today. Where is he having his at? I want to make sure I give it the right information. I don't want to say it wrong.
The only one that I had planned got canceled due to bad weather, but I know that the time is running short. If you go to wherever Scott is, he's also got petitions for Paul and I. Paul and me.
I'm looking for his. He sent me an email. I'm actually looking at his email. Casey, Oldman Theater. Thank you, Casey. I was just going to ask anybody that's going to be there today at the Oldman Theater. Scott Comedy is going to be out there. I think Keenan's going to be there. Maybe I hope Keenan's going to be there. There's a few people in Wayne County that's running for things, y'all. Let's get out and let's support them. Let's help them get on the ballot. And let's look at it. Let's put our party stuff to the side and let's look at this. If you really think about this for a second, right? Just 1 second. If you're about helping Wayne County, I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care if it's an independent. If they're from Wayne County and they're running for something, whether they get elected or don't get elected, the conversation that gets our name out there in the public is very, very important. The conversation that's had what gets our name out in the public is very important. We need more people out there who make things happen, know that we exist and that we are a valuable option to come here and do things. I was disheartened to find out that we weren't going to have Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats come to Wayne County and set up a music place. That was disheartening because that would have been revenue like you wouldn't believe. But we let that slip through our fingers, and that's disheartening. There's a lot of different things that we let slip through our hands, and I think it's very important that we get out and we support it. So if you have not yet, and you're a Democrat, and you can sign these things. Get on there. Let's get our voices out there. Let's get our people out there. Let's support them. Come to the Oldman Theater tonight. I see I got a text message from Joanne saying what time it is. Casey just put in here. Anybody, Casey, Joanne, whoever's watching out there, what time today? Because I don't have my email in front of me, and I know I want to put it out there. Do you know, David, what time Scott's event is going to be? Anyway, put it in the chat if you know. If Scott, if you're watching yourself, you better be watching. Put it in there. Put it in there. All right. Today, I think it's going to be like 2 or 3 o'clock at the Oldman Theater. But let's get out there and sign those petitions. Get these people on the ballot. Let's get this message out there. Wayne County, stand up, y'all. Mr. Mayor, David Englert, lieutenant, candidate for lieutenant governor of the great state of New York. Thank you for coming in and allowing me to